The Holy Gospel according to Mark, the 9th chapter. Glory to you, O Lord. And before I begin reading, I'm to invite the children, or anyone for that matter, if you want to close your eyes and imagine what this story means, what you picture as you listen. 6 days later, Jesus took with him Peter and James and John and led them up a high mountain apart by themselves. And he was transfigured before them, and his clothes became dazzling white, such as no one on earth could bleach them. And there appeared to them Elijah and Moses, who were talking with Jesus. Then Peter said to Jesus, "Rabbi, it's good for us to be here. Let us make 3 dwellings, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." He did not know what to say, for they were terrified. Then a cloud overshadowed them, and from the cloud there came a voice, "This is my Son, the beloved. Listen to him." Suddenly, when they looked around, they saw no one with them anymore, but only Jesus. As they were coming down the mountain, he ordered them to tell no one about what they had seen until after the Son of Man had risen from the dead. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, O Christ. Isn't it grand to come together on a Sunday like Transfiguration, to gather together and to imagine all the glorious things that are to come and what it means to be in the presence of the beloved Son of God and to be blessed like that vision of glory. And it's a grand thing to be a pastor in that kind of context, in this place where we talk and dream about such things. Speaking of pastoral role in congregation, anybody read the Dilbert cartoon last Sunday? I like to bring those up once in a while. Well, in this cartoon, Wally is talking with the pointed hair boss. Boss is sitting at his desk, and Wally standing there with a cup of coffee, kind of casually. Wally says, "Can I create my own job? I hear people do that. They figure out what they are good at, and then they create a job around it. I'm more of a strategic thinker than a worker bee. My job could be to attend meetings and say strategic things. And of course, I would have no time to do anything or to respond to email because I'd be busy being strategic." The boss says, "It feels as if you want a job that doesn't involve work." "What do you mean? Would you trust a strategic thinker to actually do something besides think about how to solve problems?" Well, I have to confess to you at this time that that's overall what my vision of ordained ministry is about. I get to stand here and share with you visions and offer you strategic thinking about what it is to be the people of God in our time and context, trusting, of course, that you'll know how to go out and do it. Of course, there's more to ministry than just that. Pastors also teach. They teach the Bible and Lutheran faith and practice spirituality and invite others to do the same. And we take care of the sick and dying and do weddings and funerals and preach and proclaim and share sacraments and all of that. But beyond that, there's that whole calling to offer visions. Now, I do know, over the years, I've known too many pastors who are really good leaders, who know how to go out and organize things and make them happen, who know how to swing a hammer or use a saw and make things happen. I have to confess that isn't me. My sense of pastoral ministry is to use my imagination to invite you to do what you know how to do. You're the people who work in the world, who have skills and knowledge and experience and can set goals and have done leadership duties in various things, and then to invite you to celebrate success when we catch a vision that works, or, admit our failure when it doesn't and go on to something new. That's pastor as strategic thinker, is it not? Well, whether that's a fair job for the pastor or not, that's certainly what Transfiguration Sunday is about for all of us together as a congregation. The story about Jesus on the mountain takes place 6 days after Peter first recognizes Jesus as Messiah, as the one whom God has sent into the world to make the world a better place. And then immediately denies Jesus' prediction of suffering and death. Oh no, Jesus, it can't be that way. You can't die. And Jesus says, get behind me, Satan. You don't know what you're talking about. And then 6 days later, invites Peter and James and John up on the mountain where they have this profound experience. Elijah and Moses appear with Jesus, who of course are the law and the prophets in Judaism, the Word of God, which gives them a shape, a vision of what the Messianic time should be about and what Jesus should be about. But Jesus stands in their midst between them, shining with the light of God until they disappear, and all that's left is Jesus and the voice of God saying, "This is my beloved, my Son. Listen to him." And then Peter, bless his heart, does the great pastoral thing. Hey, let's build some chapels up here and open the doors. We'll camp out up here on the mountain and invite people to come up and catch a vision about what they're supposed to do out there in the world, being faithful to the messianic vision that they have when they come among us. Wouldn't that be great? And Jesus just shakes his head and says, "No, Peter, that's not what we're about. We have to go back down the mountain, back into the world where the people really live, where they suffer from pain and hunger and despair and need a vision of what is yet to come." So I'll share with you a vision, and I will invite you to use your skills and abilities and your knowledge and experience to either make it happen or tell me that it can't. But let's keep wondering where Jesus is leading us, shall we? Did you read my weekly devotion this week? If you didn't, I know you've heard the story because it's been in the news over and over and over again. I shared it on a Tuesday night with the council and said, "Here's a vision. Come on, somebody out there, tell me how this might work." It's what I'm dreaming anyway. Just a thought, maybe something else better. It's a story about Evan Leedy and James Robertson. You hear that story this week? Evan Leedy, a 19-year-old student at Wayne State University. Now, stop for a moment and think about how many 19-year-old students there are in Iowa City right now around us, probably asleep at this time on Sunday morning, but there nonetheless. And here's this Evan Leedy who receives this story. Here's this story about James Robertson, a hard-working, middle-aged factory worker in Detroit who can't afford a car. And so he travels 21 miles from his house to the factory every day, walking most of the way and taking the bus when he can. It takes him hours to get there and hours to get back. He's so faithful, he's never missed a day of work. 10 years ago, his car died. He couldn't replace it in Detroit. He couldn't afford a car, much less insurance, and so he just keeps walking. And Evan said, "How come we can't help this guy? I have an idea. I know how to use a cell phone. I can push the buttons. I can say, hey, how about raise some money? Give me $5, $10. We could raise maybe $3,500, and the guy could go out and buy a car and have a better life." And so he did. And in a few days, they raised not $3,500 or $35,000, but $300,000. And local dealerships caught this in the news and said, "Hey, James, come on, we'll give you a brand new car, and you don't even have to pay for it." And suddenly this man's hope and expectation for the future in life has been transformed by this one act of kindness and grace. What occurred to me when I read that story is, how come we can't do that over and over again? How come we as a congregation can't provide space, for instance, for fundraisers, students to come in and use tables, or provide them with electronic equipment to do research about who's out there working hard who just needs a little break? Maybe they need rent payment or to buy new clothes or to pay some medical bills or something, just to give them a foot ahead so they could succeed at what they're already doing. And what if we didn't do it once, but did it over and over and over again for thousands of people? And that became a mission. And maybe in the fundraising, they could raise just a little bit to help pay back for the church to provide that space and to be that place in the community where grace is happening. People are going down the mountain into the world with a good news that is meant to be shared. Now that's my strategic thinking. I'm asking you to figure out how to make it happen, or tell me if it's true that it can't happen, that it's a stupid idea, and I'll say, okay. But here's the thing. we're invited again and again up this mountain space, up, which is what Sunday morning is about, to hear the word of God, the law and the prophets, to experience Elijah and Moses with Jesus, the one who shines in the darkness, and about whom God says, "Here is my beloved, my son, listen to him." To come up that mountain together, to open the doors, to invite others to come if they will, but then to go back into the world where we live and work and obey the word of God, seeking something new and something grand. Here is Jesus, God's beloved Son, says God. Listen to him. And Jesus says, "Come, let's go back down the mountain." Shall we?